My respects to our Secretary of the Department, Secretary Fortunato Boy de la Peña, to Congressman Francisco Bingo Matugas, to our hosts, Mayor Bebe Coro, to my partner, not in crime but in this particular endeavor, Regional Director Boy Liacuna of the Department of Health. Our board members from Surigao del Norte, we have board member Gelier Bungcarus. We also have board member attorney Dongdong Plaza, board member Juris Sunico. I would like also to acknowledge the representatives of our cooperating agencies coming from DILG, the Department of Tourism, Food and Drugs Administration, and the Office of Civil Defense. Also, I would like to acknowledge our visitors coming from the Food and Nutrition Research Institute. They are there. We also have representatives from DOST Region 4B and DOST Region 11. We also have our members from the press, from the Philippine Information Agency, and from DOST-STII and DOST-TV. I'd like also to acknowledge the members of the Surigao Tourism Association, and of course our partners from the food establishments, from the restaurant owners, resort owners, eateries, and homestay owners. Of course, also to my staff from DOST, we have here AR Derrick Varela. We have Engineer Noel Aho, who is in top of this particular project. And also, thanks to my MC, Marie and Moy Moy, Engineer Jonathan Agbayani, and of course, Engineer Noviken Lavisores, and Flora May Joy, or BBK Liray, who are really working very hard for this particular project on food establishment inspection and grading system. Let me start my presentation by asking you if you have taken your lunch. Nakapaniud to tatanan? Was it okay? Did you prepare the food yourselves? Or it comes from a service provider? So what do you think? Is it okay? So food is any substance consumed to provide nutritional support for any organism. So everybody really needs food for nutrition, that is for our growth, for the repair of vital processes, and also to give us energy. Let me start this presentation with by referring to Maslow's hierarchy of needs. If you look at this pyramid, at the very bottom are the very basic needs, which includes food and water, because all of us needs food for our nourishment. And whether we like it or not, we cannot survive without food and water. And there is even a quotation from Hippocrates that let food be thy medicine and medicine be thy food. Or you are what you eat. So you may be obese or you may be slim. That is also because of what you eat. Saan po to? Singapore, we are very comfortable with the food that we prepare at home and also with the packaging of the food, because at that time there were not so many people. But over time, our eating habits and our consumption patterns also changes. So with these changes, there are changes in technologies and there are changes in eating habits. If we compare the eating habits of the millennials, or even us now who are usually traveling, we can say that most of us eat outside of our home and rely on food services for the food that we eat. This is because we are often very busy, and if there are also homes which are there are only two, or you are just a single, so you always want to go out and to eat and not to prepare the food by yourself. In a study conducted by Bernstein Research, which is ranked as one of the top social research institutes in the world, it was found out how the newer generation's eating habits differ when compared to the rest of the prior generations. Exhibit 2 shows the frequency of each generation to visit food establishments like restaurants over a specific period of time. It was found out that millennials tend to eat more when compared to other generations. You could also see in the presentation how much time each generation allocate to food preparation and consumption. Almost everyone had a comparable amount of time eating, but it can be seen that despite millennials working fewer hours, they spend less time on food preparation. This behavioral change can be attributed to the abrupt changes in nowadays standards of living, and also thanks to technological advancement. Because of it, people get to enjoy a more convenient life. People, especially the working group, tend to eat at restaurants like fast food chains where food is readily prepared. Or they also prefer packed foods. Or perhaps the most convenient is through delivery. Especially in big cities like Manila, they have already Grab food, they have Panda, so there are several apps already offering food which are delivered to your footsteps. But one question emerged as a consequence of this convenience. Are we fine with eating food that other people prepared? I believe this thought should be given more consideration because in a study published by the Philippine Science Journal, almost 78% of food poisoning cases happen in food establishments like restaurants, hotels, or work and school canteens. In Caraga region alone, with 2.5 million population, the 2018 data on food and waterborne diseases by the Department of Health shows that those are the figures there. You can see that there are diarrhea, which is more than 1,000. So cholera. So those are the cases of foodborne. But if you in our region, and if we compare that to Singapore, which is with a population twice as much, something like 5.6 million population, there is quite a few number of incidents of food poisoning. And why is this so? Because they have a game changer. They have a rating system for their food retail outlets, or similar to our food establishment inspection and grading system. Actually, the model of the food establishment inspection and grading system, or FEIGS in short, is taken from the Singaporean model. I was lucky or fortunate to be one of the directors who were sent for a training on food safety in 2016 in Singapore. And I have an experiential learning on food grading. It took me quite a while to conceive this particular project because not only because of budgetary requirement, but I think it's really quite difficult because we have already the sanitation code of the Philippines, but we don't have a ready checklist. There might be guidelines in that particular code, sanitation code, which is being encouraged and promoted by the Department of Health, but we don't have the grading system. Our sanitary inspectors in the different municipalities, of course, make this as a requirement to our food establishments, but then again, we don't have the checklist. So I draw the inspiration from Singapore, and I gather my staff at the office, and we discuss. But then it's really impossible on our part because we are not a regulatory office, we are a developmental office. So we came up with an experimental development design for this particular project. And then we thought of cooperating with our cooperating agencies or collaborators like the Department of Health. So we are really very thankful with our cooperators, the Department of Health. Thank you, Doc Boy, for this. Not only DOH, but the ILG, because they have a big role in the Food Safety Act of the Philippines. Then we have the Department of Tourism, because actually this project is conceived also for the benefit of the tourism industry, not only in Surigao, but in other places where there are tourists, but for all of us who are consumers. Then we also invoke FDA, because FDA is the regulatory body for the food processing sector, and of course the OCD or Office of Civil Defense, because they are the ones who will provide assistance during emergencies. So we were able to conceive of this project and to finally implement this one because of our cooperating agencies. But then again, given these cooperating agencies, we don't really have the tooth to implement this without partnering with our local government units. So the first time that I presented this to the Caraga Food Safety team, we talked about partnering with the different LGUs in Surigao, but I have to consult first the governor, then at the time, Governor Sol Matugas. So Ma'am Sol is really instrumental also in the implementation of this project. And then we came to the different mayors to discuss about this particular project. So that was the start of the project. So it took us 1 whole year just for the consultation, and in February 2018 was already the start of the consultations with each of the municipalities and the training of the food handlers, the restaurant owners, eateries, and homestays. And then we also conducted trainers training. It was even attended by the Regional Director of DILG, who was really very supportive, and she said that she learned a lot regarding food safety and proper food handling, especially on preventing contamination. So to make the long story short, we were able to implement this project. While we are training some of the food handlers, we also coordinated with the different municipal mayors And at that time, they already expressed their interest to pass an ordinance legislating the adoption of the Food Establishment Inspection and Grading System. One of that is the municipality of Del Carmen. So we are very happy because despite the unfinished protocol, they already expressed their support to us. So the next slide will show us the process. So the Food Establishment Inspection and Grading System is a quality assurance system so that we'll be assured that the food we consume is really safe for consumption to protect us against foodborne illnesses. So first, of course, as I have said, we had the consultations, we had the training, and then we had the inspection. There were 3 inspections. The first 2 inspections were announced inspections because we just don't want to barge into the restaurants and eateries without seeking the approval of the different owners. Actually, we started with 57 volunteers from the 9 municipalities. This is not obligatory at this point, but this was a voluntary act by the owners of the different food establishments. So after the first inspection, we found out that that will come into the next. So then after that, after the first inspection follows the second inspection, still announced, and then the third inspection was already unannounced. So these are the municipalities, 9 municipalities of Surigao. That includes not only from the mainland but also in Socorro. So we have trained more than 700 handlers and sanitary inspectors, 37 of them, and 155 random respondents. By the way, what was our basis of conducting this one is our perception survey, because we cannot really proceed without conducting the perception survey on the awareness of the food safetyness or the food safety in this island, and whether also the people here would support food inspection and grading system. So we came up with a 2-page questionnaire on the different questions about whether they were able to experience food-borne illnesses like nausea, diarrhea, or vomiting. So that was also the springboard of the protocol that we drafted. So from that 2-page perception survey, we were able to know that the people are already aware of food safety and that they are supportive of a grading system or rating the different food establishments. So this is the checklist that we have drafted. This was vetted by the Department of Health, by the Department of Tourism, FDA, OCD, and the Department of FDA and the ILG. So you can see there different key areas. The first one is on health certification. So all food handlers should have health certificates. And then we also look into the hygiene practice of the food handlers. kung naligo ba sila, naliligo ba or hindi, may sakit ba sila. Because kung may sakit sila, hindi sa pwedeng pumasok and they should not serve or prepare food. Even including kung meron ba silang, what you call this, yung parang prickles or acne na lumalabas yung ano, because that is a source of bacteria. Anong klaseng bacteria? Eh, meron yan sa training, di ba? Di ba, staff? Oh, so, hindi siya pwedeng pumasok kung marami siyang mga bugas kay source siya ng Staphylococcus. So, daghan na areas. We also look into quality and protection of the food and the structural requirements, especially the restaurants. We look into kung maayos ba yung inyong kanal, kung nakakope ba yung inyong mga corners, so things like those. So actually, we came up with 70 questions for this particular checklist. Although, mas konti lang for homestays and eateries. And we also look into the equipment and the utensils and also on storage of the food. So, we will, of course, after the inspection, we did contact the owners. We spoke to them because for those non-conformities, because they will be rated with their conformities and non-conformities. So for the non-conformities, particularly during the first inspection, they were given recommendations for them to improve on, so that they will be able to go up in the rating scale. As you already know, we have 4 rating scales, A, B, C, and D. And D are those that needs improvement. Yung merong below lang sila ng 40%. If you are below 50% of the number of conformities or compliances, then you are considered in the C and D. And those above 50%, 90 to 100 is A or excellent, 70 to 80 is rated as B, and C is 50 to 60. So, those are the results of the first inspection. So, as a whole, during the first inspection, ang karamihan is grade C. So, medyo mababa pa siya. But, for the second inspection, tumaas na. So, ang average is grade B and meron nang nakakuha ng A. Pero, kumunti yung number ng nagpapa-inspect. Kasi we started with 55, pero kumunti na lang siya sa second inspection hanggang nagiging 34 na lang siya sa last unannounced inspection. So for the third unannounced inspection, yun na makikita natin, average is still B, but there are several establishments already which are rated A. But there are also backsliders, meaning they were A in the second inspection, but during the unannounced inspection, they were not again able to maintain or sustain. So, nag-backslide sila. They go back to B or satisfactory. Next slide, please. So, again, that's the result. Next slide. Kasi medyo mahaba. Okay, next. So, that's the rating. For those who are rated A and B, they will get this plaque. Do we have a sample of the plaque? You will be rated A for excellent and B for very satisfactory. And we asked the different restaurant, eateries, and homestays to post this in their conspicuous places. These ratings will also serve as an informed decisions for our customers where they dine, where they think that the restaurants are safe. So this can be used as a marketing leverage also by the different food establishments. Next slide. So these are the common findings of mis or unconformities. So we have their employees had no health IDs or were not wearing them. The recommended PPEs were not also worn during the food handling. Even ineffective handling of leftover or unused food. And then crevices or gaps in the floors were evident. Kasi ano yon, magiging source yan ng mga bacteria. So dapat walang mga gaps in the floor. And then inefficient floor drainage, walang drainage yung particular restaurants. And then incompatible activities located in adjacent areas. So ito lang ang mga common na mga findings. So marami yan, hindi ko yan iisa-isahin kasi medyo mainit din yung ating lugar. So we will be presenting all these results to our LGUs because the protocol will serve as a guide if in case the LGU will pass a resolution adopting the food establishment inspection and grading system. But I just want you to take a look at these challenges because this is an experimental development study. We are still looking on the improvement of this particular protocol. These are the challenges that we experienced on the mobilization of personnel during the inspection because DOST is a very lean organization. Actually, in the entire region of 5 provinces, there are only 33 plantilla personnel. There are more contract of service personnel than permanent. So it is quite difficult for us to have more inspectors. That's why we asked our cooperating partners to have their focal persons trained as food inspectors on top of the sanitary inspectors coming from the 9 provinces, 9 municipalities of Surigao to backstop us. So we train this personnel so that they will be able to help us in this inspection system, but it's also a preparation if the particular LGU will adopt this particular system because we will win. There's a terminal relationship, of course, between the DOST and the municipality because we cannot forever be with the municipality in implementing this. Once it's being institutionalized by the LGU, we will only serve as the technical consultant. We will not do the inspection anymore. But if they will ask assistance, then we can refer them to a group of qualified inspectors. And still, it would be a third-party inspection if the LGU doesn't like it to be an internal team of inspectors. So, DOST will always be at the supporting role, but it's again the ball game of the LG. So can you go back to the challenges? And then there's also, aside from lack of inspectors, there's also an unawareness on the needed permits. So maybe this is one thing that the LGUs may also address on the unawareness of certificates needed. Not only on the siguro permits that they need to operate a business, but on health certificates, that their personnel needs to have health certificates at least once a year. That's the requirement of the checklist. But it's for the establishment to have their own guidelines on how many times they would require their workers to have to undergo physical examination. And then there are also concerns on checking of water potability. You see, water is very important when you are into the food business. Not only for washing their dishes, but of course, it's needed in all aspects in food preparation. The potability of water is very important. So, our mayor earlier has expressed her intention to have a water testing laboratory, but even if there's a water testing laboratory, we should also have a stable supply of water. Kasi kung meron tayong testing laboratory, wala naman tayong stable supply ng water, magiging problema din. So, dapat yung dalawa present. Next. So, for the future plans, of course, we want the LGUs to adapt this one, to adapt the protocol. This is already vetted by the 6 cooperating agencies. We will turn over the protocol to the LGUs. But even if we have not turned over our protocol for Surigao as the pilot area for this, there are already adapters. We have started the food establishment inspection and grading system also in the city of Bayugan in the province of Agusan del Sur. And we already also had our first meeting with the Butuan and Caraga Hotel and Restaurants Association because they also want their food establishments and hotels inspected for this particular rating system. So those are the plans that we have, but I hope that for the entire 9 municipalities of Surigao, from Burgos to San Isidro, Pilar, Del Carmen, General Luna, Dapa, Socorro, ano bang na-miss mong dalawa? Ako'y pagalitan ng Mayor, Santa Monica, and San Benito. So, siyam na siya. So, I'm really very thankful to all the local chief executives and to the sanitary inspectors and also to the local tourism of Surigao and of course to the STOA and all restaurant owners, eateries, again homestays for your support to this project because onhon man ang among paningkamot sa unom na cooperating agencies kung dili mo cooperate ang atong LGUs. So wala gyud kami mahimo kay kamo gyud ang adapters, dili man mi makaanha sa inyong lugar kung dili mo musuko. So as a parting message, please remember that food safety is very important. It is like a seat belt because it can save lives. And if you have the food establishment inspection and grading system, you have clean places, you have safe food, and therefore you have happy customers. Maayong hapon sa atong tanan.